is going to be a science question.
Ooh,
What
boy.
causes a rainbow?
Isn't that something with a pot of gold and a leprechaun?
It's definitely.
I'm not sure exactly what causes it, but I know those are
Definitely. You don't
involved.
really need to know anything more than
definitely.
that. I would say just go chasing that rainbow.
Yeah.
Try to find that pot of gold. Actually, I wonder whether, so I have tried to chase a rainbow before. When I was a kid, I definitely tried to get to the end of a rainbow, not really understanding it. But if any of you out there have ever tried this before, the truth is that it's impossible to find the end of a rainbow, and we'll talk about why that actually is. So what a rainbow is essentially is a rainbow is light reflected through mist, essentially, through water droplets. The most common time that we see rainbows is after rainstorms or sometimes during rainstorms. But you can get rainbows in any situation where you have kind of consistent mist in the air. And so we'll talk about some other situations where you might see those. Water droplets suspended in the air as mist are able to act as essentially as a prism. And if we could jump to my screen really quick, I'll just explain what a prism is briefly. So light that comes from the sun and light that comes from light bulbs is typically white light. And white light is a combination of all the different wavelengths of light. Light, interestingly, when you combine all the colors of light, if you were to like mix all the colors that you could get of paint, let's say, together, you would mix all the paint together and you would end up with a black color. So in art class, we often learn that mixing all the colors gives us black. But in light, when we think about light, it's sort of the opposite effect. When you mix different light wavelengths together, you end up with white light. And so white light, again, that we see from the sun or from light bulbs is actually a combination of all the different colors of light that we're able to see. And I noticed we didn't jump to my screen. Is it possible to jump to my screen? Not sure. There we go. So this is just a simple diagram of a glass prism. You can see white light entering from the left side. And as it enters, that white light is split. And that has to do with the fact that white light is essentially all the different wavelengths of light together, moving together. But as the light comes in contact with the surface of a glass prism, for example, that surface is tilted, and the surface is the prism itself is made of glass. And it turns out that light travels the same speed as other light through the same medium. Light changes its speed if it travels through different kinds of mediums. So light travels at a different speed through water than it does through air, and it travels at a different speed through glass, like a glass prism like this, than it does through air. And that change of speed is such that when the white light hits the side of the prism, you get what's called refraction. So the different wavelengths of light are bent away from the original light source, and depending on their frequency, they're bent different amounts. So you can sort of see from the diagram here that the least bent rays of light is red, and the most bent would be blue. And red wavelengths and the red and orange and yellow, these colors of light are lower wavelength light beams, whereas the green, blue, and violet are higher wavelength light beams. And so the higher the wavelength, or higher, the higher the frequency, the shorter the wavelength of the light, the more that light will refract as it travels through a medium. So then we would just need to sort of think about, and I had it somewhere. Oh, once upon a time, I had this picture I was going to show you. We'll just use this one. This kind of works. So this is sort of a simplified view of a water droplet. So you can imagine when light hits a water droplet, some of that light is actually reflected off the surface of the water droplet, but some of it travels through the water droplet. And then some of that light actually passes through the backside of the water droplet, but some of it is reflected off the backside of the water droplet. And again, you can see this bending that happens here. As it passes into the water droplet, that's that same refraction that we talked about happening in the glass prism. So the light can reflect off the back of the water droplet, and then it refracts again as it leaves the water droplet. And so what you end up with is you start with white light, and then through the reflection and refraction that happens inside of the water droplet, that white light is split into the visible spectrum of light, which for us humans, the visible spectrum of light goes from red light, what we perceive as the color red, through the color violet. Again, red being low frequency, long wavelength, violet being high frequency, short wavelength. And I thought I would just show a couple pictures of some rainbows here that we could take a look at. Sorry. Ugh. Normally I'm a little more prepared, guys. I wasn't ready for the rainbow question right away. So obviously this is how we normally see rainbows. Red on the outside of the rainbow ring, and really we think of rainbows as being these large arcs, but if there were no ground, we would see actually a whole circle that appears, and because the blue light and the violet light is refracted more than the red light, we end up with blue light and violet light on the inside of that circle of light, and red and orange light on the outside. So people use the acronym ROIJBIV to remember the colors of the rainbow go: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. Indigo is sometimes thrown between blue and violet. But and then I just thought I'd show this one too. This is a rainbow halo. These are really rare, and it's actually, there's lots of different kinds of rainbows that can form. Again, I mentioned at the beginning that you don't necessarily need rain to form a rainbow. You just need a mist of some kind or something in the atmosphere that's capable of doing that reflecting and refracting that we need. So you can actually get rainbows like this that form when there's certain special conditions that create mist in the lower atmosphere. You can see rainbows at the bottoms of waterfalls oftentimes. Oftentimes waterfalls, just the crashing of water creates spray and mist that will create rainbows in that area. And there's even something called monochrome rainbows. I was going to show a picture of those. Just give me a second. Again, apologies about not having this prepped. But you folks may be aware that in the morning or in the evening, red light is accentuated because of and this is something different, but because of the way as the Earth rotates away from the sun and we get less light from it, green and blue light is scattered and we end up with more red light that comes through. And so if you're in a position where you get mist in the sky, and it's also very early in the morning or late in the evening, you might have conditions where the light reaching you wherever you are is mostly red light. And so even as the reflection and refraction happens of that light, you would end up with really just one color to refract. So I've never seen a rainbow like this, but they exist and they're kind of cool. So I just thought I'd mention them. But yeah, that's how a rainbow forms: reflection and refraction of white light through water droplets.
So you can't chase a rainbow.
Oh yeah, sorry. And I was going to say actually that what I forgot to say was rainbows only appear. There's this special angle 42 degrees in normal raindrops. If you look up at a 42-degree angle, that's typically where you're going to see a rainbow.
So if you get real close to it.
Well, if you continue, let's say you see a rainbow. If you continue to move forward, you'll continue to see that what looks like the same rainbow to you, but really the rainbow is moving with you, because you're seeing at that same angle of 42 degrees, just a new rainbow being formed through that same mist. So as you chase, and if you see somebody way off in the distance, let's say underneath the rainbow, you might see somebody and say, there, look, they're right at the pot of gold. That person at the pot of gold could not perceive that rainbow that you perceive, because it's essentially, well, it's not an optical illusion, it's there, but it's because of the angle that you're at compared to that patch of sky.
So they might be seeing a different
They
rainbow
would likely
somewhere
be
else.
seeing a different rainbow.
Right.
And think you're at the pot of gold.
I think I'm at the pot of gold. Could absolutely be.
Science is killing our dreams.
Yeah.